Alright, well the question comes up every now and then, what's a good way to sharpen a machete or a bigger blade? And the easiest answer would be, well, you just get a stone and put it on a bench and sharpen it like you would a smaller knife, only do work it in sections. But it's not that easy if you're out humping around in the woods or whatever. Usually there's not a table or a stump or even a rock that you can put a good stone on to do a job like that. And I got an opportunity to sharpen up one of my favorite machetes here, the Marbles Jungle 14-inch. I was mowing the lawn the other day and saw this hanging in a tree where I'd left it about a week and a half ago, so it's got a bunch of rust blossoms on it. It's a good opportunity to clean it up. And so there's two ways really that I've come up with. I've never seen anyone else do this, but I'd be surprised if it's that uncommon. You can take your stone, put it on your leg, and when you apply pressure you just go slow so that you can see what's happening with the stone as it changes pitch. You can kind of match it. The other way, which is a little more difficult, at least initially, but I think gives better results, is to actually rest it against your knee. So now you have 2 points of contact and that thing's got no flex and it stays put. And then you can just kind of go to work on it from here, flip it, and again, because it's a machete, it'll have a fair amount of flex, and if you don't support it one way or another, there's a good chance that that'll goof up some of your results. So this is how I prefer to do it. Let's see what kind of results I get here. I'm using the washboard. It's actually a pretty good choice for this kind of thing because it gives you good feedback. I'm not used to sharpening things across my knee like that. You can do smaller knives this way too. I'm just going to wrap this guy around here. I don't have any tape or anything, I'm just going to hold it. Fold the ends. Really the only thing you gotta watch out for is your fingers when you bring it back, but that's not too hard. And the really cool thing about this method, especially if you're not working in good light or whatever, is you can actually see what's happening. It's a little disconcerting initially to not be able to see the surface of the stone and your tool moving across it, but on a big tool like this it's actually easier. I'm just going to move this guy right on down the line. Everywhere I go I've got a little bit of support, and I can actually see all those rust blossoms coming right off of there. Probably saving myself a fair amount of work compared to resting the stone on my leg and just working it. And now I can actually correct every single stroke. This has a nice convex edge. It came with a bit of one. I raised it a little further up the face of the blade, made it a little more acute. This is my favorite urban machete because it's nice and orange, somewhat utility. It doesn't look like I'm ready to run off and join a band of orcs or anything. When you live in suburbia, it's a little bit of a concern, I guess. Not really, but and I can actually see the burrs, some of which I formed on the other side. And I'm just slowly rocking the blade a little bit to hit that convex. The paper's loading up a little bit, nothing too crazy. All the rust is off of there. The edge was in pretty good shape. It didn't Didn't get used too hard. With the 600 grit paper, there's probably a little bit of a burr on there. And I'm just going to very lightly dust that off, or most of it. With the machete, it's very difficult to say that you're going to get every last little burr, make every single stretch of the edge perfect. And if you're sharpening it for someone else, you know, your first time, I guess, I could see doing that. Otherwise, I'm not sure it's worth it. I'll go over it one more time real quick. Again, I got to remind myself, keep the support right where the thing is. I don't sharpen these like this all the time. I usually just throw it on my workbench and do it that way. This works good, and like I said, the washboard works real good for this method because it gives you just that little bit of extra feedback. And normally, I don't even bother with the sandpaper for doing maintenance on machetes. I just put compound. Because it's a convex edge, I'm going to use 2 sheets of paper here. Give it just a little bit of soft feel. Paper tight, fold it over. Grab my general purpose compound. And this is the step that normally, if you don't really beat the tar out of the thing, and you don't leave it hanging in a tree for a week and a half in the rain, you normally shouldn't have to do anything more than compound. I'm a big believer that you should polish your edge as much as is practical with machetes, axes. You can do a hatchet or an axe the same way. I just find it a lot easier than floating in space. Like having that 2 points of contact. You can lay an axe head just like I'm doing with the machete. It's a great way to have a little extra control. When cutting green wood or whatnot, it really pays to have, well, even cutting seasoned wood, it pays to have a finer edge on your choppers. It's just less friction going in. And if they're lightly stropped to a sort of a convex edge, the cutting edge holds up better. It might be a little less acute right at the cutting edge, but since this isn't a utility knife, it will never be drawn through a cut, or not intentionally. It's not its primary job. So now I'm going to give it that little bit of rock to hit the whole convex. Now, to finish it off, and if you're out in the field, you're probably not going to have spare sheets of paper, and that's alright too. You can just use the sandpaper. You bring a sheet of synthetic back lapping film, whatever. So now I'm burnishing at a slightly steeper angle just to get that edge. You could polish the whole bevel like that, but this guy's a user. Again, there very well might be a burr, leftover ding or something on here. And in my experience, if there is, it'll probably be down here in this recurve portion. So I'll hit that a few times with a slightly steeper angle. I'm not going for the uber quality edge here, just a fairly polished one that'll do the job. I think that's pretty much burr-free. Might be a little bit of a ding in the middle here. Sometimes difficult to do cut tests with machetes because the paper wants to just flop around on the blade. it's not so bad. Certainly plenty good enough for a machete, and this type of edge will actually last a lot longer than just a coarse one applied with even with a file, although you can do a really nice job with a file. The other method I sometimes use is I will bring a small mill file out with a dowel, and I'll just wrap some tape around the handle of the file and put the compound right on that. But that doesn't work so good. If you really just want the absolute minimum inconvenience, you could get some black emery compound and just take that out, apply it to a fairly straight branch, and you can actually strop with that if it's a decent bark, whatever. It'll work pretty well. Alright, well, thanks for watching.